Well, welcome everybody. Anin Minagijigat. Hello, my relatives. I've got some other relatives out here that are you might hear in the background. Couple of crows and some ravens having a good old time in the back here in the woods. So um, I guess they're welcoming you as well to our conversation this afternoon about sacred spaces and what that means to us and why it's important, why those sacred lands or sacred sites are important and critical moving forward. And so we get a chance, myself and Jim is here, and it looks like we have Sarah joining us, just to have a conversation about those sacred sites. We also have Born in a Cloud of Smoke, who may be joining us a little bit later to kind of tell a few stories about her understanding about sacred sites that I think we could learn from. So um, yeah, I'm just so happy to be here, and regardless of how you stumbled upon this particular event, whether you tripped into the room by accident or whether you somehow intentionally got here because there was something that resonated with you that said you needed to come and check us out, or whether it was just a happy mistake, any way that you got here, we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're spending a little bit of time with us. And thank you for hearing our stories and being a witness to our thoughts so that we can share them with you, and we can get to that place where we really are not only one prayer, one spirit, one mind, but we actually are living in the one, in the we. So thank you and welcome. So, Jim, you want to say a hello to everybody?
Yeah, welcome everyone. Glad to see some people in here. We've had people at each one. I don't think we're streaming this, but we're recording. So if you hear this later, welcome to you as well. This is not about when we hear it, but how we listen with our heart. And so we're glad to see you. Yes, what was our title for today? Sacred Lake Superior of the Ojibwe. We'll see where Shannon takes us. Shannon is a master storyteller. And so I've been looking forward to this one. This has been an interesting time so far for us in Unity Week and for others. We're watching and feeling the energy build. I'm sure it'll continue right here. We had a program before this that I did with my spiritual daughter, Rebecca, who's in Sedona, another powerful spiritual place. She was going to take us out in the rocks to one of the sacred springs and do a clearing um, event for us. And this morning they declared emergency and they just closed all trails, all parks, all natural areas because of the huge fires. And so everything we do right now, I think, is a reminder that we need to really reconnect with our Earth Mother because she's not too happy. We're seeing fires all across the West, and we're hearing about them here during the week too. And so we're going to go into this today. We're going to enjoy this. We're going to learn something, I think, and hopefully have some fun, Shannon, because that's critical right now.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a little bit of fun, but I think and I think it's also really important that uh you know everything that you said, Jim, in terms of the time where we're at. And so I wanted to kind of start this conversation with just inviting people who are not aware of what's happening um, in northern Minnesota, north central Minnesota. I always say that because those guys are Southerners from where I'm at. But so that are really holding the line around the pipeline, line 3, and what's happening there, and to pay attention and to offer whatever assistance you may be able to offer. It's not getting a lot of mainstream attention right now, mainstream news attention, but it's important. It's critical. The water protectors are there. There's a camp there. they've asked for bodies. Great grandmother Mary Lyons has asked for bodies to show up if possible. If not possible, find other ways to support those efforts to, um, to send not just your thoughts, but resources in all the forms that you can think of that would be helpful. Whether it's camping equipment, whether it's bug spray in Minnesota, whether it's all of those things that that people need to be able to do what they need to do, and also for legal fees that may be being right now that needs that assistance too. So it's so important. And as we talk about the sacred sites today, more will unfold about why that's so critical and why we need to be paying attention. And if you're not paying attention, it's very simple. All you have to do is like type in that Google or whatever, honor the earth, right? Go there, or water protectors, or line 3, or what the heck is happening in Minnesota. Something will get you there. And from there, you can kind of see and become informed so that you can really contribute to what we're talking about when we talk about unity, when we talk about being of, and why this is important, and why the water is so critical, and why these sacred spaces are so important. So yeah, I think I wanted to start with that place of, and that's a story that we of this area, like the homelands of the Lake Superior Ojibwe, know very well, and that story has to do with how we got here, how we as a grouping of people got to this place, right? It's so important.
Yes.
So the because originally our stories were about, the some of the stories included the flood stories, right? And those flood stories talked about how we as a people started across this turtle island, right? And move inward from the east. And so we came from the east, and then we moved, and there was lots it was a huge grouping of peoples, right? And they included all the peoples that came across, right? Across those lands, the Odawa, the Potawatomi, there were, and those of the nations that eventually connected to the St. Lawrence waterways. And they did that because as the grouping, there were peoples that were told where they were supposed to stop off. The traders, those that did the trading and could use the waterways, they stopped then on this westward movement. They stopped at the St. Lawrence River, right? Because that was the one that would connect them to all the waterways, so they could support the trade system that was in place. And so as a people, as we kept moving and moving inward and inward, that we were told that of the grouping, of that particular grouping, that we would stop when we came to the place where the food grew upon the water. And so we came to this place by that direction, and we came to the place where wild rice is, where the rice grew upon the water, where the food would feed the people. And what I've learned along the way is that no matter where you're at, you hear about not just sacred sites, but sacred food, that all of this is sacred, right? And so that food is sacred. And now we have the water where the wild rice grows that is in jeopardy. So and it will not just for us though, understanding that that particular waterway is sacred because it feeds not just the wild rice of our region, but this goes through the heartland and the breadbasket and the everything of this Turtle Island. And um, so it's imperative, right, that we start to understand the sacredness of all of these things and start to kind of behave that way, you know. It's really,
Can
yeah.
I,
So
can,
that's one of our stories.
can I pick up a little on what you're saying? Because you're spot
Of
on.
course.
Line 3, first of all, I'm trying to reach out with my few free minutes to some people I know up there so we can bring them on and have them speak. But what you're saying is exactly what happened at the beginning of Standing Rock. No coverage, except false coverage, until some of us who were up there and met decided that we are the media. And that's what needs to happen in all these protection efforts. I don't want to call them protests because that's not what it is. They're protection efforts. So I think we have to remember that lesson that we are the media. If we don't put it out there, it's not going to go out there. Except again, all the false information. I was looking at some of the mainline media showing the arrest and everything else the other day, all of which are totally illegal, and naturally they didn't cover that aspect. So that's one biggie. And the other one is, especially when we're talking about these sacred sites, is for them as well. Things have to change. We have to protect them. In this case, we are the change. No one else, not governments, not our educational systems, not our wealthy leaders, but we have to come together and unite. That's why Unity Week is so important, I think, and all these incredible groups involved. Because if we don't do it, it won't happen. And that's coming clearly through pretty much every program that's been on in our room and those that I've heard in other rooms. So thanks. That's a great start, Shannon.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, and I appreciate that. That's kind of the story, I guess, of one of the stories of Lake Superior and the stories about how this lake even started. Like folks don't understand. Like in our ceremonies, we use the grandfathers, we use the rocks in some of our ceremony, and um, and we talk about that, about those rocks. We call them grandfathers, and we do that because they're so old, they're so ancient, and they have things to tell us, right? They have things to tell us because they have memory, and that memory comes out through the water and the creation of steam. And so but this in this particular region, that lake was formed during the Ice Age, right? It was carved out during that time. So the under layer of that sacred water is the oldest of the old basalt layer, what they call the basalt layer. So some of these stories that we hear, Turtle Island, all these other stories that we hear, we think somehow they're great stories, but we don't even understand the truth of them, right? We haven't really understood the truth of those stories. So that that basalt layer and those rocks, so that in and of itself makes this a sacred space because it holds that, and other places hold that as well, right? And but this body of water is so sacred because it is a fresh water source. It is unlike the ocean, its cousin, right? It's unlike the rivers. It is a fresh water source, and it holds, because of that, it holds a certain life with it. And so there's only one other lake that is as large, um, and it's not on this continent. It's in Russia. And the to think about this getting an agreement about the sacredness and importance of this water involves, 3 states and a province and many, many, many nations. Not just the US and Canada, but all of our tribal nations that are around it. And the grandmothers a few years back, Josephine Mandamin, who is from Ontario, and was from Ontario. She is now left this earth walk. But she really began the Great Lakes. And she is a Lake Superior Ojibwe Ikwe. She was a Ojibwe woman, and she knew, and both her and her elders would say, the day is going to come that the human beings and man in particular has really fought their wars over the earth, and the earth has suffered. But next, the wars will be over the waters. Those will be the final wars. And let them have the earth, but they cannot have the water. Because if they have the water, they have all of life. And so they were told that so many years ago and passed that on, that we as women and as one who lives on Lake Superior, that we have that responsibility to care for, protect, speak for, pray to, sing with that water. And those are, even within our ceremonies, helping to remember that we first sing to the water. We first sing to the water. We sing to the directions and then sing to the water. That's the protocol in some of those things is changing because we need to remember to sing to the water, right? So so that's been happening, and all of that, was a story unfolding, and the story really started with, long time ago, but in the more recent story with Josephine Mandamin and the water walkers, the grandmothers who were walking around Lake Superior, first Lake Superior, then all of the Great Lakes. That's a lot of walking around all of the Great Lakes with a copper bucket kettle to carry that water as a reminder, because this copper was found in Lake Superior. That was another part of our region, and there was something that was told us about drinking out of that copper, that is restorative with the minerals that are there. So there's all those teachings that come with that as well. And the time has come where those teachings, even the teachings are sacred. And so but the time has come that some of those need to be shared, because we all need to know why we're protecting the water, what we need to do to, why this is so critical, why these places are sacred, and not to say that one place is more sacred than another, but it's so critical that we start to get why the stories that are behind these places, the stories about what happens in the heart at, with our relatives in the Lakota and the Black Hills, that people need to know those stories. So there is a time, now is the time to help tell and elevate those stories and tell those stories, because we always were hesitant, for a good reason. We're hesitant to tell some of those stories because when people don't understand how to listen to a story or how to share a story in a good way, they can take that story and misrepresent it in a way that creates harm. And, we want to be careful not to do that. And at the same time, one time I heard a story a long time ago about how we've always had cures for some really pretty devastating kinds of illnesses. Um, and that they had that knowledge at one time and then they shared it with people who didn't respect it. And they started to sell that knowledge for money and sell that medicine. And then and they didn't gather that medicine in a good way. They just harvested it. It didn't no act of reciprocity against natural law, all that kind of stuff. And then it didn't work anymore, right? That medicine became ineffective. And it became ineffective at that point in time. So now we have to think about, you know, when we share things to make sure that it's going to be protected so that even ill intended, and I was thinking about this when we talk about sacred space, there's a sacred space that's here. I'm not going to name it a particular place. And the reason I'm not going to name it is because uh, when that became popular, when people realized it, because you can't go into this space without feeling it, right? It's powerful. It's a powerful space where anybody that enters into it goes, there's something really different here. Something's happening here, right? And other people found that space and because we shared that space with people and they went then to see that space. And even in the way that they chose to try to support that or show their appreciation of the place, they ended up doing damage. It wasn't ill intended, but they didn't understand the laws of reciprocity. They didn't understand respect. They didn't have an understanding of those things. And so it became necessary not to identify a sacred space for fear of that happening. And now we're being called to protect some of those sacred spaces. And so we have to identify them. And there's that other part of that that's like, we have to, like I said, we have to be careful in that identification because it can be misused, not even intended or ill intended, but in this particular case, this sacred space that I'm talking about had a very, very old ancient tree. And people would come and they would pray at that tree, but then they would also want a part of it because it was so, so sacred. And so they began to take little teeny pieces of bark off that tree. And they were doing great harm, or even the things that they chose to misinformed, chose to leave at the base of the tree. Everybody hears about leaving tobacco. So they think, oh, well, what a great thing. We'll leave tobacco. But that tobacco was many times not organic tobacco, not harvested in a good way, none of that. That tobacco was created somewhere else with chemicals and that kind of thing. And they were putting it at the base of this thing that was holy, that even in its even in, like I said, not ill intended, but still causing harm. And so we have to educate people about our sacred spaces and how to care for those sacred spaces in a good way so that they can be in a relationship that where there's some reciprocity and they can gain the things that they can gain from being in those sacred spaces and knowing how to behave in the sacred spaces. So Chimigwech, thanks for listening.
That's awesome, and this is coming up also in multiple places. So I'm just thinking back. I want your thoughts on this. Talking to Rebecca in the previous program, and again, she couldn't go out because of the fires, so we did it with pictures, and we both have a lot of Sedona pictures. I lived there for 6 years. Um, there's a birthing cave there, which has been used forever by the women. And below that was a medicine wheel that had been there for hundreds of years. And up above that in the rocks was a circle of stone seats that had also been there a long, long time. And so we're sharing the pictures of them and we're talking about it. And we had both done ceremony there before. We had both taken people there and taught them before. We've done things together there before. And after she got done showing the picture, she said, okay, now we have to get into the painful part of this. The medicine wheel was removed one night and the main stone thrown to the side. The rest is gone. The stone chairs up above were gone, also removed. Now they couldn't do anything about the birthing cave. It's a whole cliffside. And what's happened in Sedona and other places, and as I hear you talk, certainly around you as well, you have people like Rebecca, like me, like you, who take people out and teach them, just as you're saying. In Sedona, they've got, I call them the Jeep warriors. They go out in the Jeeps, they take a Jeep full of tourists, they go out there, they know absolutely nothing about sacred sites or even the land. And they just drop them off and let them romp over these sacred areas. And it's destroying a lot of the energy of these places, at least the physical being of them. And you know, it's not something to blame the tourists for. They haven't been taught. How can you value something if you haven't been taught why it's of value? So how do we deal with that sort of thing?
Yeah,
Not an easy
well,
one.
um, I have a weird sense of humor, so I think I just should pass on what I really think. Well, no, um, I think there is some. It's important. So for in one situation, I know what folks did is that they made sure that the only way that people that could get to that particular site was with a tribal member that was authorized. And I think when I say authorized, I don't necessarily mean by, you know, some assigned authority. I'm talking about informal authorization by the people that you know that they have authorization to represent that sacred site and to protect that sacred site and a responsibility to protect that sacred site. I think that, and it may be more than just because of we're human beings and we have different time schedules and all of that. That you know, it may be more than one person that is assigned to that duty and that responsibility and that authority to say, I'm sorry, you are not allowed into this site, you know, and here are the consequences if you attempt to enter into this site. That sounds pretty, you know, severe, and yet I don't think it is. I think it's clear, it's responsible, and it shows respect to who has the. And I think then the question comes is who has the authority, okay, to be able to, um, you know, to who should make that decision. And personally, I think it would be a great reparations kind of activity that we could do this as a we could you know ask, demand. I those are words I really like to use, so I'm trying to think of a better word, but we could request and invite our oppressors to make a different choice, the colonizers to make a different choice. And in terms of reparations, that this would be one thing that they could do is to let us be able to be the authority over those sacred sites, to have the responsibility of their protection with the authority to you know, enforce good behavior, until which time people understood that good behavior is what they want to do. You know, sometimes, you know, we need to learn how to be good relatives, and our other relatives have taught us about how to be a good relative. I mean, I certainly continue to learn. And as I was growing up, I was blessed to have elders that, you know, they taught me, you know. So it's stepping up and doing that teaching about, you know, no, you know, you can't see this or play with this or have this until you learn how to be respectful with it, right? And once you learn how to, and I'll show you how to be respectful. And once you learn how to be respectful, of course, I'm going to let you do that. Of course, you're going to be the benefit of that. And it would benefit the site as well. And all of us, right? So that's a few. I see we have lots of people that I'm just kind of speaking here. I don't know if they want to join in, unmute themselves, if that's possible.
Yeah,
And
raise a hand if you want to comment, ask a question, and then we'll bring you forward so we don't all. As we go, if anyone wants to comment on what Shannon's sharing, this is a circle.
so I do seem to have a lot to say today.
That's good. This is the time for it. Yes. I like that idea. That there's some early discussions of turning a lot of the national parks back over to the tribes whose lands they're on. And that would, I think, help with a lot of issues. Not all of them, of course. But yeah, it's that education piece that is so lacking. Like you, I mean, my elders would take me out and they would just keep drilling it into my head. And when I made a mistake, which I would, you know, we're human, I paid the consequence until I learned.
Yeah, I think we don't think about that, Jim. It's not, you know, I like the idea of not imposed consequences, but what I call natural consequences.
Well, that's what I got.
There are natural, if you let things unfold, there are natural consequences. Yes. The laws of nature will always allow for natural consequences. And what we as human beings sometimes do is we try to interrupt the natural consequence, and that does not serve, right? And I saw Michael had his hand up.
Yep. Michael, where'd you go? You there? Yeah, okay. Come on, brother.
You need to unmute the most famous words.
I was listening to your conversation from the kitchen there. I was making breakfast for the house here and everything. So thank you. A beautiful conversation about understanding the sacred sites and everything and so forth. I just wanted to speak a little bit about sacred sites of in your territory, Shannon. Specifically at Manitowoc and where the creator sat and petroforms. I was at the lighting of the 8th fire with Dave Cushin and the elders last year. And I took my son with me. We were on a journey last year, coming through the mountains and doing some stuff. So I took him up to the lodge for the lighting of the fire. And then we went out to, when we were leaving, coming back from ceremony, we stopped at the petroforms. And that was my first time moving into that space. And I tell you, I don't know if you've been there, Shannon or Jim or anybody else who's on this call, but I would encourage people to go and come into that space, that ancient space. And when they go there, they would understand. So there are certain places that hold really powerful presence. Even with the encroaching of the Babylon system around those sites. And this is one of those places, almost just same like the Anna's spring yesterday. The amount of power, I understand why she goes to that specific place, because it's not a loud, the water's not loud, but it speaks loudly, and it speaks through her. And that the same place when I experienced walking into that space, and the energy and the history, you could feel the people, the energy and the humans who had come into that space as well, like as if it was just around you all the time. Like it was as if it's like a place that has no time, right? It is a space of time. And when you move in there, you feel everything that was there before, in the now, and even in the future. What was really moving as I walked in through the space was all the different prayers that are tied. And that one thing about what you're speaking about, removing things from sites and so forth. And in this petroform sites and everything, there's so many grandfathers who have little grandchildren rocks who are just placed up around all over the place, and they're not like any other stone that you normally see, that people normally see, unless you go out into the the Cambrian and be with Grandfather Rock. But this space has that history, and you can actually hear, if you pay attention and meditate and be one with the space, you can hear some teachings coming through. And there's one spot when I came across, did we have there's many red dresses from our friend Karen Black, who had started the Red Dress Project. There are many prayers on the trees, and there's different sections that have red dress in honoring our women, repression of women and genocide of our women folk for many years. And so when I moved into that space, and the kind of consciousness that I tried to raise to these type of things as well, when I moved in that space, I started crying, and I could not stop. It was a feeling of giving gratitude by the answers, or the vibration of the universe that is there, just comforting me in that space of vulnerability, of opening my heart in that space. And I didn't really even have to do anything to prepare for it. It just comes over you, and just become a part of that. And I actually had to move away from that place in order to disconnect and stop crying, because I was there for I was in like 15, 20 minutes. I couldn't stop, and I didn't want to leave. But it was very intense. And so when you go into these places, it's very important for people to understand, even if they don't feel the things that are in the presence, or don't have a connection, it's really hard not to. But to be respectful, not to leave things in, make sure you leave things in a better way than when you came upon it, in anywhere you go, period. But that place is one of the, I've been a few places, and that is very, very powerful. And
Thanks, Michael.
I look forward to the Creator bringing me back to that sacred place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good words. Shannon, back over to you. Comment?
Okay.
Right, whatever.
So I was kind of taking it in, Michael, what you were saying, and of course reflecting upon that space, and some of the stories of that space.
Mhm.
And when I was thinking about those rocks that you were talking about. So where I come from on this side of the shore, we talk about Memiguese, which is the little people, right? And some of the things that they they live in those cliffs, those little people. And so we always make sure that we honor them and the knowledge that they hold and the magic that they give our world. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, where did I hear about Meme Guesse? How did that come into my life? And I'm like, well, it was my grandmas and my granny aunties, and that told me those stories about the Meme Guesse and what we want to do and why they like shiny things, and how come they have a sweet tooth, and why they're called Meme Guesse, because the meme is a woodpecker, and the Meme Guesse have that red hair. They have red hair, and they're small, wee little people, right? So anyway, I was thinking about reflecting on all that, and then I thought about my friend Born in a Cloud, and she might want to. What do you think, Jim? Should she come on for a moment and tell a story or two herself?
I was hoping that she would make an appearance. I thought maybe it was nap time.
Well, it is. She kind of. All right, she's getting a little upset because she's telling me, "What do you?" Yeah,
Okay.
she's like, "What's the matter with you?" And so I'll see if she'll join us.
Okay.
Let's see, where are you? Okay, Born in a Cloud. Bonjour. I heard you was talking about me. Onion in the way, Maganak. That means hello and my relatives in Ojibwe Moen. So yeah, I'm gonna come and talk a little bit about water. So I think I should start. I think I should start with my name. So my name is Born in a Cloud of Smoke, but people just call me Born in a Cloud, or my English name, Angelique. So those are my names. So the reason I was called Born in a Cloud of Smoke, you're talking about water today. And so I'll tell you my birth story. So I was born on water. Actually, I was born in the middle of Lake Nipigon. There was an island there. It's Jackfish Island. And that's where my people came from. They were on Jackfish Island. And there was a fire. Just like that, Jim was talking about fires now everywhere. Well, there was a big fire. And my mom was in labor when that fire broke out. There was nowhere to go except the water. And so my mom had me born in that canoe, right on the shores of that island as it was burning up. So that's how I got my name, Born in a Cloud, because there was a cloud of smoke that was coming. It was coming right off that shore. And when they saw me when I first came, they said, she's born in a cloud of smoke. But the truth is, I was born on the water. So I was always very connected to the water. And we were taught about the water, that we as women were the water carriers and the water bearers. So we're all about the water. And so I also heard you talking earlier about that somebody was mentioning Turtle Island, calling this Turtle Island. So I'm wondering about how much you know about that water animal, that turtle, and about how he's a navigator, you know? So we were always taught the stories about the turtle's back. And what was on that painted turtle's back? That box turtle. That's the kind of turtles we had, was a box turtles. And they had 13 squares on them. That represented the 13 moons. We as women and the water carriers and water bearers, we have to know all these things about these moons, and because we know that we're made up of water, we understand that. So of course we have tides, just like the ocean has tides, just like this Lake Superior has tides. We have tides too. So we watch that about those tides and we think, oh, we see that on that turtle's back, about those moons. And all those days on that turtle's back, those 28 days in between the cycles of the moon. Our cycles too. Jeez, we're so lucky to have all these things to teach us. But also, I don't think a lot of people understand. We had to understand as Ojibwe people traveling across the land at a time when the water was way lots of water and we had to go somewhere. When we came here to the place where the food grew upon the water, to the Minoman, yeah. So we had to travel. And how did we know where we were going to go? We looked at that turtle's back again. And on that turtle's back is a map. It gave us the map about how to get here. It gave us the map about how to set up our trade routes, what waterways were going where. It gave us a map about on the sides of that turtle shell. It showed us where the mountain ranges were. So when we talk about this being Turtle Island, it really is. It really, really is. And it's all there. All the memories, all the stories are on that turtle's back, just like we're on this turtle's back. So when I look at that turtle's back and I think about sacred spaces, that's a sacred space. That turtle's back. It's a navigator. All of those things are so true. So I'm just hanging out here in this wagon and thinking about water. I go to the water every single day. Yeah, I go to the water and I sing to the water. I don't have a very pleasant voice, but the water doesn't mind it because it knows I'm singing from my heart. I go to that water and I sing that. I say, Nadi, Isagian, I love you. Then I tell it, water, I thank you. Miigwech. And I tell the water, I respect you. And I leave that thought and that prayer there at that water. And you know, every time, every single time, that water gives me something back. So we're in a time now where the story about the water those stories that my mother and grandmother told me when I was young, they're happening. I thought they were crazy. I thought, oh, their old days are badass. They don't know what they're talking about when they said that we would come on a day when the water would be like gold. What? What? What are they talking about? But sure enough, we're here. They also said that the wars would be around the water. I couldn't believe it. We used to go every day to the well and we'd get our water then. And even later, before we had those pipes and stuff, we had 4 wells in our community. And the young ones would get the water for the elders, bring it to them. Yeah. One time they wanted me to give them some snuff for that water, and I said, no way. You go get that water and behave yourself. Yep. So then they wanted chocolate to get the water. I said, no way. You go behave yourself. But then they came and they didn't ask for anything. So I gave them blueberries and they were so happy. So, yep, that's the way it was then. But now the waters, our communities have no good water. They're getting sick. And the children are sick too. And everybody's getting sick. So we have to take care of the water. So when I go down there to that water, I think about all these things. And then I think about how I can make a difference. One, by telling you and my grandchildren, but two, by thinking about all the time, remembering that sacredness of that water. Maybe it's just a little space that you're a steward of that you can take care of and protect, but something, you can all do something. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say today, but I'll be back another time. No, Gigwabaman. Till next time. Okay, well, that's what Angelique has to say about it.
And she said a mouthful.
Yeah, I think she gave us some things to think about, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Think about
agree.
that water. Yeah. So we've got a few people that have joined us. I wonder if yes,
Yep.
Teresa has raised her hand.
Let's see.
Yeah, there she is.
Yes.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, I'm sorry to have joined late, but I'm so grateful I did. Oh my gosh. Shannon, that teaching with Angelique, that needs to be a video that every child and adult should hear. The message is so beautiful, so clear, so needed. She brought tears to my eyes. I haven't heard some of those teachings for a long time about the turtle, and you gave me more than I had heard. I knew about the moons and the women, but I hadn't heard about the map of the guidance. And yeah, that's just a beautiful, beautiful way to teach. And I loved it. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful I found myself here today.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here with us, Teresa. Makes me so happy. Yeah, those teachings are, and the thing about Angelique and Born in a Cloud is that she really is all of those aunties and those granny aunties that just have done some remarkable teachings. And yeah, I've learned I learned a lot about those. There's so full teachings around the back of the turtle shells that are just really important, I think, and can communicate to little people and big people. So yeah, and you know, uh, she has a little way about her. So, so what do you think, Jim? You think we're pretty much almost at the hour, right?
Are we already? Yeah, we are.
We
Wow.
are. But well, we have is it Maki,
Oh, good.
Linda?
Yes, hello. I'm gonna try to get connected here with both sound and video. I'm not. Whoops! It says I can't connect with video. Okay, well, I don't know why. I'm trying to hit the little video icon so you can see me. But anyway,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know what's
delighted.
happening. Michael can't get on video either.
Well,
Sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. But anyway, greetings, warm greetings to everybody. And I just happened to see this with notice about a Kogi Zoom tomorrow morning. And I saw it from a friend on Facebook, a friend of a friend probably on Facebook. And then just happened to connect early because I saw there was like an activity going on now. So what a delight. And I hope to connect more with you in the future. I'm on Facebook as Maki Linda Turner. So I don't know if you can add me to your list of future Zoom. It was quite an interesting little conversation or little information just now. So
Well, we're glad that you joined us, and we get to hear your voice even if we can't see your face. Fun thing about that is we can like listen to your voice and like make things up in our head about what you actually look like, and
right.
then when you actually meet somebody, you're like, did it match? Was it different? You know. I mean,
Wonderful.
I've had some things like that where I'm like, oh, they don't look like anything like I thought they would, or oh my gosh, they look exactly what I thought they would, right? So I
Right.
think it's a fun way to introduce
True.
ourselves in all our ways of being. So
Oh,
no,
Exactly.
so we're
Exactly.
we're kind of coming to
yeah, we're coming
we're
to it.
coming to the end. Yeah.
It was a great sharing. Thank you. Since Maki brought it up, Maki, is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
good. Yes, we have the Kogi are coming tomorrow. I'll put something up again later. It now is confirmed for 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Wonderful. I've had some contact with the Kogi in the past and travels to
Yep.
Colombia.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've met up some of them when I lived in Sedona. So yeah, I'm really thrilled that they're coming because it's the perfect time, and I'm sure
Yes.
they'll be picking up threads from some of what Shannon is sharing and other folks have shared, and we don't have to
Wonderful.
worry about it. It all comes together.
I would like to recommend that everyone look on YouTube. There's a BBC documentary about the Kogi that was made in the early 90s, From the Heart of the World, Message to the Younger Brother. The title again is From the Heart of the World, Message to the Younger Brother. I don't know if I put it in the chat, if there'd be enough time for people to see it, but it's on the full documentary is on YouTube.
I don't know that one. Thank you.
Yes,
So-
I have to go, but it's been a delight. And I look
Yeah,
forward
we
to
have to close out too. So thank you. Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you
that
so
in.
much.
Shannon, great hour. It went so fast. Oh, wait a minute. Born in a Cloud. Thank you. Great job.
She says thanks. She's gone
Okay.
on to something else.
I
but,
thought so. I just didn't want her to get mad at me.
yeah, she would too, you know.
Oh, I
that.
know. Yep.
So thank you all for being here, and Until next time, and if you need or want to find me, you can find me on Facebook, just Shannon Crossbear on Facebook, or we.net. So we the world, it's just we.net. The easiest ever, just we.net. How easy is that? So because we talk about the we, right? To inspire, to inform, and to involve people in creating a world that works for all. So till next time.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank everybody for being here. We'll see you
Thank
again
you.
soon.
Thank you.